Thanks for joining me today. I'm Steve Richards, one of the pastors at Messiah Church. Welcome to our backyard. I'd like to show you what I was doing on Monday. It was a beautiful day and I wanted to be out of the house, and so I decided to tackle this part of our backyard. Now I wish I had a before photo because this whole space was overrun with Creeping Charlie. And if you don't know anything about Creeping Charlie, it is this deceptively beautiful plant that has tiny purple flowers, and it crowds out everything else in its path. And then this area was also overrun with a lot of large weeds, so large that we could not even see the perennials that we had planted here 2 years ago. So I got busy, and it took me most of the morning, but I was able to clear out the Creeping Charlie and the other weeds, and we can see the perennials, and now it's ready to bring in some mulch. And then in the afternoon, I moved to another part of our backyard that was overrun with buckthorn. And I cut down the buckthorn and pulled it up, and now there are 2 piles of buckthorn that need to be hauled away. And by the end of the day, I was exhausted, but in a good way. I'd been able to be outdoors. I'd been able to be out of the house. But Monday night was excruciating. I think every muscle in my body ached, and though I took some ibuprofen to try to relieve the pain, it didn't work. I couldn't sleep. I got up a couple of times during the night to walk around thinking that would help me feel better and help me go to sleep, but it didn't work. I didn't get sleep on Monday night. See, it turns out that Monday was a lot harder than I thought it would be. It was a lot harder on my body than I thought it would be. Have you ever had a day like that? When the day began and you thought, well, how hard could this be? And it turns out to be a whole lot harder than you thought. We're in the midst of this pandemic, something that's a whole lot harder than most people thought it would be. Some say that we're in the first inning of what will be a 9-inning game, and even if they're wrong and it's just 4 or 5 innings, it's still going to be a lot harder than we thought. Well, would you come over and sit down with me for a moment as I'd like to talk to you a little bit about hope. See, we all need hope. Even if we don't feel that we're at risk, or even if we're not worried about getting COVID-19, we all need hope. We all put hope somewhere. And if we put our hope in the wrong places, it's not hope. We're in the midst of this waiting period, and waiting it's hard for us to do. And I keep watching the news, hoping that I'll hear it's all clear. Everybody go back to work. Everybody go back to school. Everybody come out from wherever you're hiding. But that's not hope. That's wishful thinking. The writer of the New Testament book of Hebrews tells us that the hope God has given us is an anchor to keep us safe and secure. It's why the Christian symbol for hope is an anchor. An anchor keeps a boat from drifting. An anchor gives me something to hang on to so that I am not drifting. And if I'm going to put my hope anyplace, I want to put my hope in something that's going to hold me, that's going to keep me safe and secure no matter what happens. Something that will keep me from drifting no matter what the circumstances of my life may be. You know, last week I described how my grandmother had faced a lot of hardship and disappointments in her life, but somehow she was able to come through all of that with a lot of joy. And the only way she was able to do that was that she had hope. She put her hope in the person of Jesus. See, what God has done in Jesus is to show us that God's love prevails. Someone has said that God's love is the sticky note of hope. God's love is the anchor that can keep us safe and secure. In his letter to the Romans, here's what the Apostle Paul tells us about hope. He says, we boast in the hope of God's glory. But not only that, we even take pride in our problems. Not because problems are a good thing, not because we want problems, but because we know that trouble produces endurance, endurance produces character, character produces hope. And this hope doesn't put us to shame because the love of God has been poured out in our hearts through the Holy Spirit who's been given to us. Now, my gardening is not one and done. It's a process, and it takes work, and sometimes a whole lot more work than I thought it would be. And we're in the midst of this pandemic. That is already a whole lot harder than we thought it would be. But the good news is that we have been given hope. We have been given an anchor. If we'll just hold on to that anchor. And the anchor that I found is God's love that I've seen in the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. Hang on to hope. Thank you for joining me this morning. Oh, you know, this is National Nurses Week, and you might send a note or a card of encouragement or thanks to a nurse that you know or to the clinic that serves you. We need each other. Let's help each other out. Let's offer each other the anchor of hope. Join me next Wednesday. Have a great week. God bless.